This is the
What is up, everybody? This is the Global Sandwich Podcast, shown all over the world by very few people. We're working on it. We'll get it. So in this last week, the Queen of England just died. And
Queen of England, or did you just say Queen of England died? Or
yeah,
the
Queen of England.
Okay.
Not a queen that lived in England.
A Queen of England, yeah. Yes. And yeah.
And that's not Queens in New York. That's the Queen of England just died. And she was alive for a very long time. And half the people really loved her. It comes down to half exactly. And half the people...
In the UK.
What was that?
In the UK or where?
I think everywhere. Like if you match it out, I think it always broke down to exactly half in every different place. People go back, well, there's actually what probably really is, there's a fringe group that really hate her, there's a fringe group that really love her, and there's a lot of people in the middle that don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm. But obviously you don't.
So Barbados, when my parents were born,
okay,
was a territory, was part of the Monarch. And then
part of the Commonwealth?
It's a country. And I have issues around geography, so don't get me in there of like what a Commonwealth is and what is a Commonwealth?
I think Commonwealth is basically everything that used to be English colonies and still is under the English monarchy. I think that the Queen is the Queen of every country in the Commonwealth. So if it's in the Commonwealth, the Queen is the Queen of that country too, like New Zealand or Australia or yeah.
So this is how it was told to me by my dad, that the Queen, my dad never told me about the gold that was stolen from a lot of the people in the Caribbean by the monarch.
Because okay, yeah.
Because I guess he didn't want to. I guess he didn't want me to be think of myself as a victim. He spoke very highly of the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
And he always told me, and I've heard other people say that Barbados, not when he was born, it was under the monarch, but Barbados was always its own country at some point. So when my parents were born, it was under English rule, the Commonwealth. And then there is a point short after that it was its own country. And then recently,
independent, yeah.
Say it again.
It became independent, like many colonies, yeah.
Correct. But recently, I heard that wasn't true, because they just had a ceremony that Prince Charles, who is King Charles now, but he was Prince then, said that they were freed. That what I thought happened before I was born, or in my teens, or a little before that, and they had Rihanna saying that she's the national treasure, and they had a whole event talking about what had gone in this situation. So I look at
Rihanna is your fellow countrywoman, huh?
Yeah, yes, for sure.
You never actually bragged with that.
Well, I go back and forth on those things. I see pride in somebody's country as being a very beautiful thing, but I also see it as what separates us.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons why, and it could just be me using cognitive dissonance, or me not being willing to acknowledge my flaws, but I think my flaw with being geography doesn't resonate with me is the fact that I acknowledge that there's borders, but I also think it's division. And I acknowledge, because I met a human before, even
Let's
the most.
cherish our differences, while acknowledging our unity. It's always there's beauty in change and variety, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing that we celebrate our countries, but I do agree that it misleads people to the us versus them, agenda.
I mean, imagine if you had two gurus that totally believed in oneness and get them to share a room. That'd be a great reality show.
That could be us. That could be you and me.
How come you're using my sage? Don't use my sage.
Yes.
My sage is on this side of the room.
Yes. When it comes to reality, when when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And worse than that could be what could be repressed anger. like if they just had repressed anger and just like it breaks down. So I'm always willing to test my ideas out there. And I don't believe in absolute truths. I believe, as I've said many times, I believe there's only one absolute truth, and that is that there are no absolute truths. So
no, there's one.
I look at
I believe that there is one absolute truth.
What's that?
Love.
Okay. So I believe that we're all enlightened until the second person walks into the room. So if we're alone and we're there, that word love is a beautiful thing. Agape love. But once another person goes in there, like let's take unconditional love. So if I give you unconditional love, I'm going to expect it back. So isn't that a condition?
No, yeah, that's exactly the point. You're not going to expect anything back if you perfectly love unconditionally, which nobody can, but I think there's different degrees, So we all can aspire to make progress on being, and by definition, because we're in souls in the body, let's say we're souls in the body, it could be different, of course, but let's just, it doesn't matter. We're in a body, so we're limited to our bodies. So we automatically neglect some of our fellow people, automatically, and we mostly make these choices unconsciously. But even if we put an effort to be less like that, we will still neglect people. It's impossible to not neglect somebody. And
when we're operating off of scarcity, and we're operating off of there's not enough, then that's when it becomes a problem. And it's hard to not operate off of scarcity. The problem is so many people, even our billionaires, are operating off of scarcity.
Yeah, more so than sometimes people that have nothing. Yeah.
For instance,
that's actually multiplying the fish. Yeah. Or
I had a conversation. I'll let you go back into the fish situation, but
that's just
I had a conversation with some homeless people today. Husband and a wife. They may be married, maybe not married, but they have a tent just right on the sidewalk. And I stopped and talked with them and connected with them, and just heard about that they're going to be getting an apartment soon, and that they're approved for it, and that they didn't ask me for any money, because that connection, which I don't believe I have an unlimited amount of that, but I have more of that than I have money.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember their names, which I used to think was more important, but I remember them, and I see their suffering. And there is at a point that one of their friends, one of the woman, one of her friends had died, and she was able to share that. And she was, and you can imagine, like, early COVID, like being on the streets, of how stressful that would be. And people were more channeled into scarcity, because a lot of people that had real good jobs are like thinking, oh, maybe this job isn't as strong and powerful, so they're less apt to give money to homeless people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And also, because of that, somebody living on the streets, they're more worried about catching COVID from that person. But just seeing the suffering that was going on and listening to them and seeing that they're or the husband and wife aren't in a as bad situation as they were um, down the road, and they have hope. And I don't know how they're getting apartment or whatever the case is. And it sounded like it was in a decent place too. Um, I mean, better than a 10 on the street, but that it was just that being there with that connection and never having any judgment whether they lived in an apartment or a tent, um, and helping them when I can. Um, usually when they ask me, but sometimes when they don't ask me, I offer. And it doesn't take that much money. It doesn't take that much money or time.
To help, yeah, to offer help, yeah.
So what was the situation with the fish?
No, that's just I think that I
So
found
go ahead.
our famous friend, starting with an M, operating in that scarcity mode. Like he would go further than what he had, and make things happen. Like just having one fish and then feeding 10,000 people, kind of thing. You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yes. No.
Don't be afraid of saying that word. Don't be afraid of
No,
saying
no,
that
no.
word.
I think you didn't get what I was saying. I really meant our friend starting with an M.
Oh, I thought so. But
Yeah,
then you
okay, yeah, that's
fish.
what I meant, because he did this and he got into trouble for doing it, but I was really amazed at what he could pull off with that. Like,
But but he
because people would see it as fraud sometimes, but what it was just a whole bunch of faith.
but this person, and I'm not sure who it is. Um, they operated off of scarcity and
A little
off
bit.
of
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
they operated off of scarcity. That wasn't abundance.
Yeah,
That
maybe.
was
Yeah.
confidence. And as much as that seemed like it was about other people, it was about this person, whether they're male or female.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. You cannot judge motives. I think it was about both, and it's always about, always.
Okay, I'll give you it was about both. I mean,
Yeah.
but for me,
But
I,
there was,
I
I agree that I could feel that there was something that is trying to be filled, like a hole that needs to be filled, something like that. I can feel that too. So which is fine. We all might have that to an extent. So, but
I mean,
but still, I
like
was
every
impressed. Still, I was impressed. I was impressed
oh,
by.
it was very impressive. It was
Yes.
very impressive. One of the things that I don't I don't like being around people that are getting good results for doing stuff that I believe could be better. I'm cool that stuff exists out there, but when somebody's getting benefits for being for like, I'm not expecting everybody to be, I'm not as selfless as I think I am. But I know I'm selfless, but I'm sure I'm not as selfless as I think I am.
Yes.
So
Probably.
and
Yes.
especially all the time. Sometimes I'm extremely,
I'm
and then
not
I
saying
probably
yes for you. I'm saying yes for me. Yeah. Don't
yeah,
take
yeah,
it
yeah. But no,
as
that would be fine. That would be fine. That's, I mean, that's why I keep you around, because you push me to be better also. Um,
No, no,
I
no.
mean, even the fact that when you came into San Diego and you talked about the homeless problem when we did one of our early podcasts, is like, I wasn't as aware to that. I was blocking it out,
Yeah.
even though I have a program and everything. And sometimes that stuff's a little overwhelming for me, and then I start to think, oh, I don't have enough in order to help them. So sometimes I got to put my blinders on so I can do something to manifest money so I can help out more people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was a present my reminder. So you always, even as complicated as you are at sometimes, of really pushing the envelope on some things, you push me to be a better person. I didn't feel that with that other person we were talking about, male and female. I'm not sure who we're talking about. My political game, my legal game's tight, isn't it? I have two brothers, and sometimes I've done a video about them, and they've said, oh, I heard you had a video about me. And I was like, no, that wasn't about you. That was about that was about the other brother. Like,
I had two brusters.
yeah. So and you know what? It wasn't all bad. That's what frustrated me so much.
No, yeah.
So much. There's so much.
I had a worse experience than I did. I did have a really good experience overall, you know. But are you still here?
Yeah. My thing was showing the battery. I need to charge my phone. So going back to the Queen. So I did this.
Sorry that I'm laughing. It's sad that she's dead. It's sad anybody's dead, you know. Anybody's death is.
Well, my I just did my eulogy since we last did it for my dad's funeral, and I roasted him a little. And some people would say, well, why are you going to talk about him like that at the funeral? It's like, well, he didn't let us talk about him like that when he was alive. What was I supposed to just like get when he was dying and the ambulance was there? Was that the only time that I got, like, what was the point that I was able to, like, he talked shit about me, like, when was the point that I like when is it? So I understand that the Queen meant something to people. I understand that there's that we've been fighting for these imaginary lines called borders for millennia. And I don't believe the Queen is a reptilian.
Neither do I.
But I met somebody, and that I was involved in a project that was a big leader of a company, and I saw that he was operating out of the reptilian part of his brain. And I saw but I saw because of bad blood he was getting, and it was hurting his ego, that instead of people asking about how profitable his company was, they're asking about the protests that were involved in this company. And I noticed that was bothering him, so he wanted to do stuff, so he was listening, and I was able to get him out of that reptilian brain enough to do powerful things, because he was the head of a company that during peak season had close to 10,000 employees. So I was in a position to be able to do a lot of good speaking to them. So we all, some more than others, operate out of that reptilian part of our brain. And that part of the brain is ask these two natural questions. What does this mean? What should I do? What does this mean? What should I do? And in the past, for most of us, there was a lot of violence involved in it. Like, even though we met at a Starbucks, maybe 50 years before that, we would have probably gotten a fight.
Yeah.
100 years before that, I would have tried to kill you. We would have tried to kill each other. There is progress happening. And a lot of times people say this is the worst time ever, and I don't believe that.
No, that's not even scientific.
We're just seeing stuff, and we have to be more accountable, not just asking aristocrats to solve our problems.
The funny thing is, because of the media, we're confronted with more stuff, making us more depressed, but this confrontation leads to more healing. So I think we're all culturally evolving. Yeah. And I mean, the stats say there has never been as little violence per capita than in these times. Of course, it could tip over if we have a major natural disaster or anything like that, you know, like a war or something. But
I believe, like, one of the things that even though I believe that a lot of the violence that is happening is getting pushed by social media.
Also,
Um,
yeah, at the same
yeah,
time.
so it's like I only believe that we're on the we potentially are on the verge of a civil war because some influential people are saying that, and social media companies and people are being shaken up. So
Bad thing
I
is that
love.
good people don't voice their opinions so much. It's really a shame that people that have, you know, yeah, that people that are in a good state don't voice their opinion on social media for other reasons. Mostly they're educated and that they're afraid. They're also operating out of fear because they don't want their data to be, like used or stolen or misused or whatever. And these are all good reasons, but they seem to forget that, your life lasts maybe 80 to 100 years and that's it. Like this is your chance to make a difference. And of course it's different if you have kids or don't have kids, then you have a different responsibility. I see that, but still I think that it's a shame that many of the people that have very sound opinions don't voice them in the internet, and we have only a lot of noise, a lot of noise by people that have extreme ideas, and that's leading to a lot of
Again, that's what we're focusing on more.
yeah.
Um, that it might be just because that's more entertaining.
Also, yeah.
Um, and I mean, we have to entertain people to a certain extent.
It's all about
But
entertainment.
also,
Yeah.
there's, I mean, there's platforms that aren't doing that are very successful, based on that, because there's so much content out there, and from a place of scarcity, people want to create a dependency. For me, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it's all about. I since we last talked, do you see I did a sermon? I did
Mm,
my first sermon
no,
since last in a church. Did a sermon.
really nice. I want to see it. Where is it on
Oh
Instagram?
yeah, for sure. I'll share it. Um,
Okay.
but when the week before we're preparing for my dad's funeral, we went to the church to talk with the preacher about setting up. And when we got there, the priest was asking this lady who wasn't that worked in the office to do a sermon, and she didn't want to do it. And I go, I'll do it. And I didn't even know if I could. I didn't know. I don't even consider myself Christian. Even further, not going to ministry. And
Mhm.
then at the funeral, the bishop shows up, and he lives at an old age home, and they have a little church in there. And that's where I was going to be doing it. And I just showed up, and my father used to just to go there and give the bread and wine to the old people who live in the old age home. So I got a like a the red carpet rolled out for me, and it was a small group, around 10 people, and I talked about
Did you
being
get an amen?
childlike.
Did you get an
What was that?
amen?
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, I it wasn't my ideal group. Like yesterday, I performed at a bar, and I noticed with Bob, it's like I'm one of the few people, because my mom, I showed her the sermon because she wanted to go and I didn't want her to go, but I showed her the sermon yesterday, about 2 weeks after I had did it, and she's like, "Oh, you can go to theology school or whatever to to become." And
Bible
I
college.
was like, I don't want to limit like what I'm doing. And then I was going to perform at a bar last night, and I was like, I'm one of the few people, as a Bob Marley impersonator, that I can preach the word of God at a bar, and people enjoy it.
Yeah, that's way better. That's way more like Jesus than preaching at the synagogue. I mean, he also did in the synagogue, right? I mean, the synagogue
And then
kind
it
of an
turns out,
equivalent to a church, I guess.
yeah. So it's like I can go anywhere. I go there. A lot of the stuff is diluted, especially the important stuff that I believe in, and then I'm separating it, and then I might have to believe that I don't know where the Episcopalian Church stands, but I would have to believe that maybe they have views on gays or people that are different or everything like that. And I was like, I'm gonna like all of a sudden like the being able to do that, and I'd probably have to say bars are really bad. Like there's so many things that it would just like dilute like all the beautiful parts that I love about it.
That's great. That's great. I would have loved to see the second one too, the bar.
I
would
got I
have
got both I got both of them
on video
on
both.
Instagram. Yeah,
Oh
I got both.
wow. Okay,
I
great.
got the one you probably I left like 3 minutes at the front of other people talking in the church so people knew it was real. So I should have put on somewhere that at 3 minutes in. I was just gonna put a little of it and I was like, no, I'll leave the first 3 minutes because I turned it on because I wasn't sure when I was gonna go. And then I left it on there so people were like, I didn't want people to think that it wasn't real. But even then I was like, okay, if I did, like I don't, and this is gonna sound really raw, but I was like, my group, even though I felt I did a good job, isn't people that are about to die that are like are thinking about their biggest goal is that they're having a vanilla pudding on Thursday. Like that's not my audience. Like like I want people that are in the world
Yeah.
and teaching them to not be of the world. That's my ministry, and not
Yeah,
diluting it
yes,
to,
you
oh, you
resemble
got to believe
Jesus
in,
to an
you
extent,
got to
I guess.
believe this stuff, or you're not, I'm gonna hide my truths. I'm gonna find a way to say it to everybody without even believing some of the stuff. Like I'm just like, no, you find your magic. Don't listen to me. Like I would run a horrible church because I was like, motherfuckers, like go help the homeless. Don't show up here next week. Like, don't give money
Right.
to the church. I know we
I'd
need
go to
money,
your
but
church.
go give money directly to God's children.
Right. Exactly. Best way to give money. That's actually a good topic. Best way to help people with money is not giving them to charity organizations, because I know somebody in
Wait. We just started a nonprofit today, so
a new
so
podcast right
I'm
there.
joking. I'm joking. But
Yes,
we
I
did
mean,
a
there's
nonprofit.
somebody, she did her master thesis on this, and it was obviously about French organizations. So you probably would have to find a PhD or any kind of scientific work in the US to prove that it's true. But I'm sure that it's
I'm
already there.
wait. I'm actually looking for a woman with a PhD.
Really, it's not hard to find.
Parents
There's a lot of them around.
parents have dough. Parents have dough.
Parents
Yeah.
have also,
For the international audience, dough means money in America.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And it also means weed.
I haven't heard that one.
Dope.
Dope. Yeah.
Parents have dope. It's not bad either.
Oh, that's good too. That's good too.
Yeah. So anyway, in her thesis, in her work, she analyzed charity organizations, and she came to the conclusion that 50% of the money you're giving is going into corruption or fixed costs, whatever. And so it is much better to look out in the street wherever you are, whichever country you are, and look for people in need. And you need to pay attention, of course, because there's gangs and there's I remember about this woman who back in LA, I think my friend Britt told me about it, and then she would go one block further and step into a really beautiful Mercedes at the end of her working day, And so you have to you have to pay attention. You have to, for example, look for people that are sleeping at night on the side of the street. These are people that are really in need, And I think it's really important not to give them money, but to only in some situations, but mostly to ask them what they need, buy them food directly. Also, the connection is really important. It's not just about the giving act; it's also about the connection you're making. The social aspect of it is probably as important.
I have a program that I need to get back to doing it, but it was one of those things that I had to let other things fall into place to because it was sucking a little too much resources. But it's called Operation Water.
Yes,
So what I would do is what I would the first time
I know
you remember it.
very well because it
How
swept
about for the audience?
almost
How about
swept me away. the
Yeah,
water in San Diego.
So the first time I went down to do this Operation Water, it was overwhelming for me, just because I was like, I went into scarcity. I was like, I don't have enough to help all these people, and they're suffering so much. I can't, like, a lot of times I take people's energy in, and then I transform it, and it's a bit like I woke up feeling like shit from the bar yesterday because I shifted some energy, um, and I didn't really even notice right away. I was like, dude, what's going on with me? Like, I feel horrible. And then, like, later on when I shook it and was able to heal it, I just like, oh, you were did a little healing there. You took in a lot of people's energy. So Operation Water, I went down, and then I was like, no, this is all about teaching people how to fish and finding out what they need and helping it. So I got one homeless person. I said, hey, I'm gonna go buy some water. Here's $5 to go help me out. I'll pay you $5. I wasn't gonna pay him in advance. $5 to help me out. He goes and gets water with me. He was very, like, he got tired really quick. So I got another homeless person to pass it out. And I paid him $5 to
I
pass it out. And
remember
I
this.
said,
You told me this,
and I
but I need to hear it again.
yeah. Well, it's more for the audience. And we passed out the water to all the different he passed out the water, and then I was gone. So I wasn't there that long, and it didn't necessarily take that much resources. That's something that I could easily do on a consistent basis. And then the next time I went down with this multi-million dollar client, and he was giving too much money to the homeless people. We actually had a drug deal go, like, we have a multimillionaire that has a $250,000 car, and we're sitting on the ground talking with homeless guys. We got this one guy that was a veteran, and he owned a cell phone company at one point, and then he's like on hard times and on the streets, but a really good person. And we talked with him, and we had some homeless people, and he said we're onto something, because usually, he goes, because these two homeless women stayed around, he goes, usually wouldn't stay around. Then this one person came up, and a drug dealer, when he gave money to it, this drug dealer did a drug deal right by us. Just being and we're talking about a guy that has a $250,000 car is sitting there with homeless people, and I know I helped them get there, because even when we first walked up and we met these people 5 minutes before, some homeless people were saying that we're undercover police officers, and I heard it, and I was like, change the way we walk. Because I know I'm walking too tight when I'm in the hood, and people think I'm an undercover cop. I was like, I gotta, yeah, I gotta, yeah, like,
And always pull your pants up, you know.
yeah. So that was the case, and we're able to do that. But this guy, we found out after talking to him for a while that he used to fix bikes on the streets, and that's how he made money. So we bought him some tools to fix bikes, and he was able to make money. And we say that these are microloans, and the way they pay us back is investing in the homeless community.
That's good, yeah.
And we don't keep track of it. And I believe
good. That's really good.
I believe
Because
that's
that also
another.
gives them the feeling that they're not just these people receiving, and you know, it empowers them to be givers, you know, and then to have, like, I don't know, it's a different feeling if somebody says, you know, like, it's a different feeling if somebody says, I know you're so weak, you can't give anything back to me. Then, especially to males, I think, you know, because the male person always wants, like, the giver aspect is very important in the psyche of a male, I think, you know, because it actually, whether it's good or not, that's a different question, you know, can analyze that, whether it should change or not. But I think it gives them, you know, gives us males the glory to be a giver, you know. That's the glory of a male, to be a giver, basically, you know, a provider. Yeah.
The provider, yeah.
If you don't
Women,
have that, then usually you're not regarded as that male aspect is not shining on you, you know, which is maybe not good that it's like that, but it is like that, yeah.
I would say that part is mostly good.
Yeah,
We
I'm
could
not
go.
saying it's bad. I'm just saying
Yeah,
I'm just saying like I think a lot of males are suffering from society having that regard of the male and female to needing to be providers, you know. It's the same as opposite is the same for women, you know, like um but it's a different dynamic. It's just the opposite, you
but
know.
there's if we go back to hunter gatherer, and we could break it down instead of male and female, we'll go masculine and feminine energy. And we did a real good on my Lizzie and Me podcast. We did a real good thing about like really breaking down. Okay, what in 2022? What is a hunter? I've never hunted for food. What is a gatherer in 2022? Like I do my cannabis wellness parties. I'm gathering in that. It's like it's gathering, it's nurturing. I'm meeting a student today who's going through some stuff. I'm gathering there. When I'm working on stuff, I'm definitely hunting for stuff. So it's a balance. It's the balance between the masculine and feminine energy, and
So
what
is the
that looks.
gathering the feminine energy?
Okay, so
Or
I
is
met
it
a I met an attorney that he was breaking down that there's two types of people that, oh fuck, I forgot what it is. I don't think it's that simple. We have a right brain and we have a left brain, but the right side of your brain has a right side and the left side. So it's like, so the the German side of you would want more extremes. The French side of you would give a lot more wiggle room. And even simplifying that, if everybody was exactly like Germans would, then there'd be like more wiggle within there. It's like it's so when I say the hunting and gathering is masculine and feminine, mostly hunting is masculine, mostly gathering is feminine. But everything has masculine energy in it and feminine energy in it.
Mm.
Like if you couldn't throw a punch with just masculine energy, you would hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Some of some of the most badass shogun warriors were feminine because they knew vulnerability and sometimes you're quicker because something that goes into a powerful punch is just like flexibility. That's the message with bamboo because it has strength and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the koala.
You speak so well of it that it makes me to want to be it makes me want to be punched by you.
Oh, great.
I want to.
This is Zen Master Bamboo. He doesn't talk. He just looks in your eyes and gives you like lessons. So people in the audience and also you, my co-host, just like look into his eyes and he can give you the message of what you're looking for and what you need to hear.
Look at you, little masculine guy.
Thank you, Zen Master Bamboo. One of the things, and I may have shared this before, but if for enlightened gurus in India, they always, so sorry, not always isn't a good term, but mostly they depict them as half masculine and half feminine.
Mm-hmm. We have 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Five.
That's
And yeah.
so marinate on that. The depiction of enlightened gurus in India is part masculine, part feminine. They're just like split down the middle, and that's the goal. If you're moving towards, I don't believe in enlightenment, but if you're moving towards being a better person, and that is having an understanding and knowing that I am everything I see, and
Yeah, right. Yeah.
being able to dance with that, not in the pendulum, gay, straight, religious, non-religious. It's a skateboard park. It goes in so many different directions, and we have to be present with who we are in this moment in order to decipher what's going on right here, right now.
Yeah, it makes me think of flower. I reread Eckhart Tolle's book A New Earth today. I listened to it in the kitchen, audiobook, and he said, and I never realized it beforehand. I think at least I don't remember, that the enlightenment of plants was in evolution was the day when the first flower appeared, and then flowers could be seen as a metaphor for the enlightenment in the plant world, you know. And I think when I think of feminine energy, I think automatically of flowers and of the property of flowers, which is they are, I mean, in the sexuality of male and female, of course, this is changing, but it is a lot about a flower is a lot about attracting through beauty, you know, not imposing, but attracting, pulling towards by beauty and so on, you know. So I think there's a
This is like I have these flowers in my lift, and female passengers freaking love it.
mm-hmm,
It's like the fact that I have fresh flowers, and it's not I can stretch out a $7 bouquet for a week and a half.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it's there's something there I don't totally get.
Yes, because
I don't.
you're not female.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's cool. I feel their excitement for it.
Yeah.
Um, that feels real to me. Um, I I get being in aligned with nature, 100%.
It,
So
it's
so
interesting that it actually a flower resembles a woman more than a male, I would say, you know, at least also in terms of sexuality and so on. But the male doesn't get crazy about it, but the woman does get crazy about it. So, I mean,
but we're
a
but
friend
part
of mine
part
also
part of
said everybody gets crazy, like male and women get crazy about women, and nobody gets crazy about males.
that might be a social construct.
Oh yeah, it might be, yeah, of
Maybe
course.
maybe that was for lack of better term, maybe that was beat out of us early on.
Okay, say something smart because we have 1 minute.
So the goal is for you and I and all of us to be our own king and queen.
Ah,
To
because wrapping
to
it up.
to to that's the book of Thomas talking about don't that we all have Christ inside of us and we all have that energy inside of us. And don't come in an absolute way and expect everybody to like think that you're Christ or you're the king or you're the queen, but you have that temple inside of you and build that temple through yours, and it will change your world. Instead of going outside of trying to get approval from everybody else, know that you're
Yeah.
anointed right here right now being a totally awesome king or queen or both.
All of you, you viewers, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
because all of me loves all of you. Peace.